Hey everyone, it's Ashley from Lovely Commotion here. Thanks for joining me. Happy 2021. It's finally here. 2020 is finally over. Maybe we can see some light at the end of this very dark tunnel. But anyhow, Happy New Year. I'm wishing you the very best this new year. And I'm coming today because I wanted to share with you some of the strategies I use when we are going back to school after break because honestly, like the struggle is real. I mean, we have had mm, like 2.5 weeks is generally about what we have off. And then when the kiddos come back, it's like, for whatever reason, they act like they've never been there before or that they forgot what they were supposed to do. And honestly, I dread it every year, just like I kind of dread the beginning of the year and teaching all the procedures and all that stuff. Don't get me wrong, I miss their cute little faces during break and I'm so glad to see them and I want to be back there. But do I really want to have to teach procedures and expectations for a couple weeks before we get back into it? Not particularly. No, I kind of wish we could just like pick up from where we left off with the rolling of the wonderful learning and kids really in the groove. But with those weeks off, it really does make a difference. And so I have to remind myself every year that there is good news with this because they definitely catch on and relearn these expectations in your routine so much faster after break than they did at the beginning of the year. I mean, so much faster. So I just have to remind myself that if I just plan and go in and make sure that I am reminding them of all our procedures and expectations, that I will have less issue and we will get back to where we were faster. So, granted, getting back in the groove is hard for everyone. It's not just hard for preschoolers, it's also hard for us, right? We enjoy our time at home. If you've been blessed to have a break, drop that in the comments. Let me know. Did you get a break this year in 2020, at the end of 2020? And when do you go back? Because currently we are pushed back until a little bit after we normally would go back because of COVID. So let me know. Are you going back in person? Are you going back virtually? When are you going back? Did you even have a break? Because I found that even if you didn't have a break, the stressfulness and the change of routine that comes with the holidays, doing all your holiday gifts and so many holiday things to do in the classroom, that sometimes even when you're there the whole time, your schedule gets interrupted and children kind of get out of sync, if you will. And we know that as pre-K teachers, the last half of the year, this January through May type of period, is where we just see massive growth, just massive, amazing growth. And it's definitely what we show up for, right? Is to watch that growth. And so the faster we can get back kind of into the groove after the break, the better, so that we can really get the ball rolling with learning and watching these amazing little minds just blossom. So I wanted to share with you 3 go-to resources that I use to make the reteaching a little easier. And I will point out that I also do just go ahead and stick these in my plan. Like, I'm just going to go ahead and do them. Whether I think my class will need them or not, I'm going to do them. That way, I've got the bases covered, right? I'm already going over the procedures and expectations again, just to be sure to set us up for success. Plus, it also helps me get my mind frame in the right place too, because it's easy to just try to still be on break and just kind of roll and kind of try to get into the groove. Like, I like to go guns a-blazing, get in there, remind myself of the expectations that I want from children and remind them of the expectations that they need to meet so that we can have some great learning and fun together. So the very first thing that I like to use is procedure cards. Now, I have talked about procedure cards before. There's another video on it. But procedure cards have been one of my very best friends these last couple years because it is less of me having to say, this is what we do next, and more of them using a visual. So let me show you here. I've got an example. Here we go. So These procedure cards are just so simple, but they really pack a big punch. So, when coming back to school after break, some of the ones that I like to highlight are coming into the classroom, entering the classroom. Remember, this is the steps that we take, and then we had to, we do hand washing before we go play, and those are very helpful. Also, another one that is super helpful is walking in a line. They haven't done that for that short amount of time, and so it's just a reminder. And so I just walk them through the procedure card. I have it on the back of our door, and I just walk them through before we even leave the room of what that is to look like. So it sets them up for success, and it is less stress on me because I'm not having to say, go get back in line. Remember, we walk, we don't run, all those things. They've already seen them on the procedure card. And there's something about those pictures that they really just gravitate to, and they like being able to kind of go down and read them and know what to do next. And so I especially love the one for the end of the day. And I review this one, especially when we come back. Now, granted, these are up all year long. Like, I don't take them down, but I'm making a point to reteach the expectation. So I love the one at the end of the day because it is so busy. Everyone's trying to get their cubbies and their coats and their water bottles and their lunch boxes, and there's so many moving pieces, and everybody's trying to do it at once. And so I really like the end of the day procedure card because they can self-regulate themselves. They can go over and go, okay, I've done this. Now I need to do this. And you can guide them to that so that you're not the only one that is trying to help all these little children get all their things and try not to forget anything. So procedure cards are something that I will be reteaching some of them depending on what they are. I will do them. I will reteach them regardless of whether I think there's a need. That way I'm just starting fresh and we're right there. But if I also see some things like how to treat toys, I may have to go through that procedure again, or how to sit at the carpet, which ways we can sit at the carpet, sitting choices, things like that. If I see them, I'm going to go through them. But I for sure start off with the biggies that I want them to do and to remember about school. So I have a series on this, a video series on this, and also you can find these cards in my TPT store, and I put a link in the description, but these are definitely something that I use all year long, but this is another time where I teach them very deliberately. The next thing that I love to do is sing, and I do this all year too. Like, this is not something I put away and just bring out, but it's something I up. I recently did a video about singing instead of yelling, and just how magical singing can be to children, because it doesn't even matter if the tune makes sense. It helps if it kind of rhymes, because then they can pick up on it. But I love to do transitions through singing. And so many of them during this time after coming back from being either at home or with grandma and grandpa or something like that, and they have a hard time stopping, right? Stopping their play, because that's something they've gotten to just continue to do, which is amazing. But sometimes we have to stop, right? Sometimes we have to stop for eating, for going outside, for whatever it might be. So I like to use songs for these transitions, and I really like to make sure I'm singing more often. And so really it's just a reminder for me to sing their transitions. So when I come back, I can just say, you know what, we're going to sing this transition, this one. How much can I sing today? It's almost like a challenge, right? Like, how many directions can I sing today? And when I do that, I find that my day goes so much easier because they are almost in trance. It's very magical. I'm sure there's some brain research behind it that I don't know, but it works. And so I love it. And so I encourage you, if you don't sing during transitions, give it a whirl, especially right now and back to school after break time, and back to school at the beginning. Whoo-wee. It is such a lifesaver, and it keeps you from getting like this, and they don't care if you sound good, so that's always a bonus. So these transition cards are free for you. I put a link in the description here, and you can you can use these, make up your own on the fly, use these to just kind of get your brain going if you want to. You can cut them up, put them on a ring, keep them next to you just as a like a visual reminder, like I should try seeing this instead of saying it and seeing what happens. So that's the second thing that I'm going to pull out that is actually more of a reminder for myself to do more often than it really is something for the children to do, but they definitely benefit from that because I'm using that singing. And then the last thing that is absolutely necessary, and I so wholeheartedly believe in visual schedules, and I keep them up all year long. So this is our visual schedule. This one is free. I put a link to it. Please use it. They adore it. Ideally, we would put pictures of them going through all these things, but if I'm being perfectly honest, I just don't have the time to do that. And so this works. They grab onto it. They totally know what each one is. And during, December, when there was a lot of holiday stuff going on, I was having to move around this schedule, right? Like we're having this, so I'm going to have to move this here. And it made it so much easier for them because the visual schedule said, I'm going to do this now. And it wasn't me kind of changing it up on them. And so it almost just felt better to them that the schedule says this is what we're going to do today. And so this is what we're going to do today. And I wasn't just springing on them. Well, normally we do this, but right now we're going to do this, because sometimes we've got kiddos that can't handle that. They need that structure and they need a little bit of notice that change is going to happen. And so I like to I always have it out, but I like to go over it every day. See, at the beginning of the year, I always go over our visual schedule every day for quite a while before they pick up on it. And then I find that I don't need to do that. And they're doing it themselves. They're putting the cards in order. They're flipping the cards over when we're done with something. They almost take it on as their baby. And I'm always so surprised at who in my class takes on that role, because who I think it will be is not always who it will be. And so I found some kiddos that adore structure that I wouldn't have probably guessed. And so this has been huge for them. And there's several of them. I mean, it's not just one kiddo that benefits from this. They all benefit from it, but there are some that take on to it and just really need that. And they love to be able to flip over each thing after we do them. And I know that it makes them feel safe because they know, like, this is what we're doing. This is the same thing every day. She's not going to trip something up on me. I can feel safe knowing what comes next, when I get to eat, when I get to go home, when I get to outside, all those things, right? So if you have not tried this year, I so encourage you to, because I think you'll be surprised at what a staple it will become in your classroom. And so after break, I like to go back through and start going over it every morning again. And so it's just kind of that, remember, this is what we do next, and this is what we do after that. And it doesn't take long for them to remember that, yes, that visual schedule is there for them and it will be super helpful for them. It doesn't take long, but I do like to make sure to point it out, being intentional, right? Whether they need it or not, I'm going to go in and I'm going to be intentional about it, because it may help one of those kiddos that I didn't realize needed that, or they're kind of struggling to get back in the groove after break, struggling to come to school because they've been at home with the family and their brothers and sisters, and so sometimes it's a hard transition back. And so this is really helpful because you can go through it with them individually. Even like if I have some that are hesitant at the door, I can remind them, hey, look, this is what we do. Remember what we do. And if it gets really bad, I'll even make them miniature little mini sized ones and make individual visual schedule board for that kiddo to say, look, this is what we're going to do until you get to go home. And sometimes, I know that doesn't sound good, like this is what you have to do before you go home. I know that doesn't sound like somebody who would enjoy school, but sometimes that's kind of what they need. And then you'll notice once they get into the groove during the day, everything is well and they are happy, and they just needed that little reassurance, right? And so visual schedule, huge. So that's free for you. If you've not tried it, I so encourage you to drop me a comment. Do you use a visual schedule, and do you find it as beneficial as I do? Because I adore it. I think it is something every classroom needs. So if you haven't, grab it, print it, use it. Let me know if there's some things on there that you wish were in there, and maybe I can put those graphics in there for you. But those are the three things. So those are the three things that I plan on doing. I plan on being intentional when we go back. We have not went back yet. And so I always want to make sure I'm going in with a plan, because I feel like if I plan and I make sure the environment is ready for them and that I am ready for them to set them up for success, that our days after a big long break are going to go so much easier. And that transition period of kind of getting back in the groove is going to be shorter. And that's what I want, right? I really wish that I could just take those kiddos I had at the start of December and just pluck them in after break, but that's just not how it works. And so we kind of have to work a little bit harder those first maybe week or two in January when we go back, and then we're able to just see the growth explosion. So thank you for joining me. I hope this was helpful. I hope you'll try at least maybe one of them, because I truly believe that our kiddos need that structure, and they need those procedures in place to help them feel safe and to help them know what's next and to help them kind of self-regulate themselves. So again, all the links in the description. Have a wonderful Sunday, and I will talk to you next week.